While patrolling my hometown, I came across a necromancer named Tis who had been enslaved and imprisoned in the castle. The moment he saw me, he begged for help. Before agreeing to anything, I wanted answers. Tis claimed he couldn't remember. Now, I wasn't buying that for a second. People don't usually end up enslaved and locked in the castle by accident. Still, despite the obvious lie, I felt sorry for him. Using my position as a guard, I escorted him out of town. Once we were safely outside the city walls, I stopped and asked him where he wanted to go. Instead of answering, Tis became hostile. No matter what I said, he refused to calm down long enough to have a conversation. With no better options, I simply picked a direction and started walking. Eventually, he settled down enough to tell me what he wanted. He needed to get to a town called Tusclos. His son, Ulet, lived there. At least now we had a destination. So we headed southwest toward Tusclos. Before entering town, we stopped at a nearby building called the Glove Boots. The second we walked through the door, Tis became hostile again. The militia commander tried to lighten the mood with a joke. Tis immediately snapped at him and told him not to waste his time. At this point, I was starting to regret rescuing him. The entire journey had been the same story: anger, hostility, and irritation. No matter what I did, Tis seemed determined to be miserable. Eventually, we reached Tusclos. I asked him for more information about his son. Immediately, I could tell he was annoyed. He simply repeated that Ulet lived there. That wasn't exactly helpful. Through gritted teeth, I asked him for more details. After some prodding, he finally told me that Ulet was a sacred dream of the ageless cult. A priest. At least now we had somewhere to start. We reached the town shrine. Nothing. We searched the nearby homes. Nothing. Then we searched the rest of the town. Still nothing. We scoured every corner of Tusclos looking for Ulet. The entire time, Tis grew increasingly frustrated. Whenever I asked him questions, he refused to answer. Whenever I tried to help, he became irritated. Eventually, I had enough. I took him back to the Glove Boots and told him he would have to continue the search on his own. Surprisingly, Tis agreed. He said it was for the best. So I turned around and made the long journey back home. Honestly, I was glad to be rid of him. I'd rescued him from slavery, escorted him across the countryside, spent hours helping him search for his son, and in return, all I'd gotten was hostility. I figured Tis was simply a bitter old necromancer. But later, I decided to look into his past, and what I found completely changed my opinion of him. You see, Ulet wasn't just his son. Ulet was the only one of Tis's 5 children who was still alive. His oldest son, Zaki, had been eaten by an ogre in the year 39. Years later, Tis began studying necromancy. But before he could master it, tragedy struck again. His oldest daughter, Laro, was killed by the same exact ogre that killed Zaki. By the time Tis finally learned the secrets of necromancy in the year 76, it was already too late. The people he wanted to save were gone. Then things got worse. His youngest son, Bato, became a mercenary. In the year 78, he was killed in battle. In the year 90, Tis moved to Ivy Mischief. Perhaps he was trying to be closest to his youngest daughter, Neymar. If that was the plan, fate had other ideas. That same year, my civilization, the Diamond Kingdoms, invaded Ivy Mischief. Neymar was killed during the fighting. Tis survived, but survival came at a cost. He was captured and enslaved. Then he was brought to my hometown of Glazed Plunge. By the time I found him in that castle cell, he had spent an entire decade in slavery. And after all of that loss, all of that suffering, only one child remained, Ulet. Now suddenly, everything made sense. The anger, the hostility, the impatience, the desperation. Tis wasn't angry because of me, he was angry because life had taken almost everything from him. I rescued a necromancer expecting gratitude. Instead, I met a broken old man desperately trying to hold on to the last piece of family he had left. I judged this necromancer way too soon.